Hi, welcome back to our economics class. Today we are going to discuss on the topic equilibrium national income from the chapter income determination from macroeconomics, class 12 macroeconomics. Equilibrium national income. When we think about this concept, we know that we learned from the previous portion, that is the aggregate demand and the aggregate supply, and we have studied the various components of aggregate demand and aggregate supply. The aggregate demand more than aggregate supply, or the situation where aggregate supply is more than aggregate demand, which leads to the income gap between the that means inflationary gap or deflationary gap. In this situation, equilibrium national income means that there is no such income gap, there is no such inflationary or deflationary gap. There is a stable, there is a position or a point where national income, there is no change after that. Equilibrium level, equilibrium point is there, which means that aggregate demand which is equal to aggregate supply. When we think about this concept, we can see certain assumptions. We have learned that aggregate demand, the various components of aggregate demand, that means the aggregate demand components AD is equal to C plus I plus G plus NX. That means consumption, investment, government expenditure, net exports. When we think about the level of equilibrium, it's entirely different from these components. We can see that when we come back to that points, we can see certain assumptions of the equilibrium national income. What are the various assumptions of national income? First one is, it is a short-term analysis. In the beginning I told you, there is no gap, there is no inflationary or deflationary gap, or there is no income gap. There is an equilibrium point at this short-term analysis. Then when we move to the next one, overall price level in the economy is fixed. We know that if there is any fluctuations in the price level in the economy, there is a chance of inflation or deflation. There is a variations of fluctuations in the aggregate demand and aggregate supply. So to create an equilibrium point, to avoid these fluctuations of demand or supply in the market, there is an average price level. Price level is fixed in the economy. Then we move to the third assumption. We can see that economy is a closed economy. We know that in an economy there is a foreign trade. There are certain export and imports are there. Net exports are there. Difference between the export and import. Net export or net imports are there. But when we think about the equilibrium national income, net export or net import means that there is also, we can see that sometimes import more than export, or sometimes we can see that export more than import. So to avoid this, we can see that that is closed. There is no foreign trade or foreign exchange or import or export. In this situation, equilibrium national income. Then the another assumption is that there is no government intervention. We are not paying any tax to the government, and the government has no expenditure at all. So if there is no expenditure, no tax, that means there is no government interaction in the economy. So no government. So these situations, that means if there is an equilibrium level of national income, which means that there is a closed economy and there is no government interventions, and that is a short-term analysis, not a long-term, it is a short-term analysis, and price in the economy, that is average price level or price level in the economy is fixed. These are the assumptions of the equilibrium level of national income. Then we can move to the various concepts related to this national income. So next we have to discuss on various concepts. In the beginning of this chapter, we have discussed aggregate demand, aggregate supply, APC, MPC, APS, APC, etc. Right? MPS. And now, related to the equilibrium national income, we need to discuss the various concepts such as autonomous versus induced, full employment income level, consumption function, and saving function. First, we can see the autonomous versus induced. What do you mean by autonomous? Autonomous means that is independent. Okay? If it is dependent, that is what is called induced. For example, I have zero level of income. I have no income in my hand. but there is a consumption. At zero level of income, if there is a consumption, and that situation, the consumption is independent, not depend on the income, because no income, there is a consumption. Such situation we can call it as autonomous. So autonomous is an independent expenditure, or whatever it is, saving or expenditure, whatever it is. Autonomous means that is independent, that not depend on income. The change in income not affect the consumption expenditure. That is a autonomous consumption. Induced means that if there is a change, income increase, consumption increase, income decrease, consumption also decrease, that situation we can call it as the induced consumption. Induced consumption. So that is the difference between autonomous and induced. Autonomous is independent and induced means dependent. When we move to the full employment equilibrium, I told you in the beginning, equilibrium national income, that is a shortened analysis. But the full employment income level means that the resources are fully employed. The resources are fully employed and they try to maximize their production in the long run. That is a long run analysis. That is different from the equilibrium national income. Another one is consumption function. What do you mean by consumption function? Function or relation between income and consumption. If there is a relation between income and consumption, and that is consumption function. C is the function of income. Income increase, consumption increase. Income decrease, consumption decrease. That is what is called the consumption function. Then what is saving function? It is a functional relation between the saving and income. We know that an average person, ordinary people, what they are doing, if the income is more, sometimes their consumption will increase, but at the same time the saving also will be. Isn't it? When at the time of income increase, the person try to save little more than the previous income level. So, function relation between the saving and income, that is the saving function. Then when we think about the consumption function, I told you consumption is a function of income. Consumption is a function of income. And this consumption, I told you the consumption is which includes the autonomous consumption and induced consumption. Autonomous consumption not depend upon the income, and it denoted as C bar. This is autonomous consumption. Then induced consumption, I told you, that is depend upon the income. If there is any change in income, there is additional change in the consumption also. We have studied MPC, right? So MPC into Y. So consumption function which includes the autonomous consumption and induced consumption. So that is what is the formula for calculating the consumption function? C is equal to C bar plus MPC into Y. So this C bar plus what is MPC? MPC is denoted as B. So BY. C is equal to C bar plus BY. What is B? MPC. Y is income. C bar is autonomous consumption. Then what about the saving? We know that saving is income minus consumption. I have 1000 rupees income. I spend 600 rupees. Balance 400. That is my saving. That is my saving. If there is no income, what about saving? There is a saving, negative saving, no saving. That means income is Y is equal to 0 and C is equal to 200. So what about the saving? Income minus consumption. S is equal to Y minus C. That is 0 minus 200. What about saving? Saving is equal to minus 200. Minus 200. That means this saving. Okay, so when we think about the saving, how to derive the equation of saving function? That will be minus. Because there is an autonomous consumption. Okay, and I will explain this with the help of the diagram, this consumption function and saving function. So I told you I will explain with the help of the diagram the consumption function and the saving function. I told you income is equal to C plus S. C is equal to autonomous consumption plus induced consumption. S also include the autonomous saving and induced saving. So what is the formula? C is equal to C bar plus By. S is equal to minus C bar, that is minus C bar means this saving, autonomous saving, plus 1 minus B. What is B? B is MPC. How to calculate MPS from MPC? MPC plus MPS is equal to 1. So 1 minus MPC or B is equal to MPS. So 1 minus B is MPS into Y. That is income. That is the formula for calculating S. Here we can see that this diagram which shows that there is a 45-degree line. This 45-degree perpendicular line which shows the income of the economy. And here we can see that there is a line. There is a straight line, upward sloping straight line, that is the consumption curve. Consumption C is equal to C bar plus By. And this C which doesn't start from this origin. You know why? If there is a zero level of income, there is no income but consumption is there. So that level, so that is why it starts above the origin. So this area in between the 0 and this area, that we can call it as the autonomous consumption. At this stage, at this level, there is no saving and there is no income, and that is which leads to this saving. Then we can see that there is a point where this income and consumption curve tangent each other. That means income is equal to consumption. And that point create income. Sorry, that point leads to saving. So this diagram which explains the derivation of saving function from the consumption function. Y minus C is equal to S. Y minus C is equal to, this is the formula of calculating consumption and saving, and income is equal to consumption from saving. Then next one is the theory of income determination. My students, there are two approaches in the theory of income determination. AD is equal to AS approach and S is equal to I approach, that I will explain in the next class.